Hey there, welcome back to 16 Stops, a podcast. My name is Josh, and I'm here with Brandon.
What's up?
Today in episode 19, we're going to talk about 20 features that we'd like added to cameras.
Josh, real quick. These aren't 20 features we would love to see in cameras because it's like, oh, that would be nice. No, these are 20 no-brainer things that should have already made it into cameras.
All right, so if you can see, Brandon's pretty worked up about this. This is one of the reasons that we wanted to talk about it. First of all, we're up to 19 episodes, which is really cool.
Yeah.
We're pretty excited that we got this far, and we're going to continue moving on with this. In terms of personal news, this is probably the last episode for the year, I would guess, for 2023.
I think so. I think we're going to let people, take a break and enjoy their Christmas away from the 16 Stops shenanigans.
Including us for not recording during that time period.
Dude, I got a lot of stuff to throw down in the next 2 weeks, so yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So, Brandon, I just want to update everybody about the last episode and your Sony Journey. So how's it going with the FX30?
It's great. I returned it.
So how long did it last?
It lasted a week. And when I say it's great, it really is. The FX30 is an awesome camera. I loved how many comments we got where people were like, no, it's time to move to this camera. It's like, did you watch the episode? This wasn't necessarily like everybody should do it. It's like, assess your own specific needs and maybe it'll fit in. And for me, that's why I returned it. The biggest thing I wanted out of that camera was to be small and portable. And it was. It checked that off the box. But there were problems that I ran into that I just couldn't get around. One of which was the screen. The screen was not great when you're outside. Being behind the camera, I just couldn't tell what f-stop I'm on, or I couldn't use the histogram, and the histogram didn't measure the metering, and that was really confusing. Autofocus worked great, but the screen was a real big deal. And then I had audio issues, like the noise floor, the preamp. Something might have been wrong with that camera. But basically I was like, I think if I went into Sony, and I do trust that Sony's going to be a great company to go into, I would probably go the FX3. The problem is that has an even worse screen. So I think for right now, I just got to hold off for a while.
Yeah, I was going to say the screen is even lower res on the FX3. So I pretty much use a monitor all the time now in my FX3 whenever I'm using it. It's kind of, unless I'm need to keep it really small and I'm vlogging or something, but even so, it's really hard to see. So
yeah, unfortunately, cool camera. I actually recommended it to 2 other people for their needs. But for me, it was listen, I got this R5C. It's an absolutely amazing camera. I'll just put up with this size for a little while longer.
Absolutely. So I've been making a ton of content about the R5C lately, and I have a bunch more to make. I think it's interesting because I owned it last year. I used it a whole bunch, did a bunch of reviewing and testing on it, and I'm starting to dive deeper into the camera, and it's almost a more fascinating camera than I remember. There's a lot going on in that camera, a lot of depth to the menu, into options and stuff like that. So I know I've been texting you Brandon, you try this? You're like, no, I didn't even know it could do that. There's a lot of cool stuff in there. So just an update, Brandon, I'm still using my Blackmagic, so I'm just saying.
I know.
All right.
I mean, had we actually put some actual money on this, I think I would have lost.
No, this is what they call a gentleman's bet, I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do I have to shave my head now?
No, it was just bragging rights,
okay.
I guess, I think, or, making fun of each other or whatever, which we normally do. So I looked it up. It was November 12th was the day we recorded it. So 8 weeks from that is what you said. So we're getting there, man.
Yeah, I guess you still have another month. I guess we're still quite a ways away.
Yes, you're right. I still have time to change my mind. That's true. So let's get on to everyone's favorite topic. What did we buy?
What did we buy?
I had a quiet week, or a couple weeks, Brandon, after the spending spree. So I just ordered the Canon RF 1.4 times extender, which I've wanted to buy for a long time.
Huh.
I'm not sure I'm going to keep it or not, but I really want to try it with my 100 to 500 so I can get more reach. I always need more than 500, and I tend to just always be in Super 35 mode. So I'm going to give it a shot. We'll see what the image quality is like. There's some issues with the 100 to 500 where you can't zoom out past 300 before the lens actually hits the extender. It's a really stupid design by Canon, but anyways, it does technically work. Canon workarounds, you know how it is.
Yeah.
So
Canon
Brandon,
curveballs.
Brandon, you bought some more stuff?
I bought the set of Remus anamorphic lenses from Blazar. I will say those lenses are an insane value, but also have the dumbest name of all time.
Were you in the market for anamorphic lenses, or did they just look super cool and you wanted them?
You know, I sold my set of Sirui 1.6s, the full frames, just because they were boring. They're a great lens, but they were way too clinical for me, and I wanted something with a lot more character. And this just like, there was enough of it. It's gonna have some shortcomings for sure, but I feel like the character and some of the other things that I was looking for more than makes up for it. And the fact that you can get an entire set for like $2,400 is freaking bananas. They're incredibly small. They're full frame, so I can use them on my R5C. I can throw them on the Komodo X, whatever. They just look like a lot of fun, and I love anamorphic lenses. So for more narrative work, I would love to have another set.
And they're 1.8 squeeze, is that right?
1.5.
Oh, 1.5, okay. And what mounts do they come in? What did you order?
Well, I got the EF. I'm pretty sure they either come in EF or PL. And I got the EF so I could use a speed booster on it, because they actually work with speed boosters, or at least that's what Blazar says on their website. That was one of the main draws. So I got the EF.
Cool. Yeah, I love having EF lenses. You can put them on almost anything at this point, especially with speed boosting on all sorts of cameras. So very cool.
Yeah, should be fun.
All right, man. Well, and what are the focal lengths?
Right now they have a 45, a 65, and a 100. And I know that they are making a 30. And I hit them up and I was like, please make something in between a 65 and 100.
Okay. It's interesting they started at 45. There's nothing wider, at least like a 30 or 35. So hopefully they do come up with it. They're not going to pull an IRIX on you.
Oh, God. I've been having some weird back and forth with IRIX, actually. Not great.
Maybe
Not
that's
great.
a whole other... Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, man. I know. All right. So let's get on to news and rumors. There is not much at this time of year, which is fine. We can kind of cruise through this. But I just wanted to let everyone know what I could find. First of all, I didn't see any Sony rumors or announcements. Is that a first?
Yeah, man, that is probably the first week and a half that we've had without a Sony rumor or an announcement.
Okay. There's some rumors stirring about OM Digital. Sony Alpha Rumors said there's going to be a high-end camera coming out in 2024, but wasn't sure what it was going to be yet. So they've been really quiet, sort of recycling cameras. And, since OM Digital bought Olympus or whatever.
I don't know how that whole works.
Switch off. Yeah. Neither did I. So anyways, it would be cool to see them come up with more cameras. I mean, more camera companies, the better. 7 Artisans announced their first autofocus lens, which is a 50 f1.8 for Sony E-mount.
All right. Is that a full frame lens or an APS-C lens?
I believe it's full frame.
Okay.
Yeah, 51.8 would probably be a full frame lens, Laowa came out with a 10 millimeter f2.8 autofocus lens for E-mount.
That's their wheelhouse.
Yep. Another lens, which is probably more in your wheelhouse, the Hasselblad 90mm f2.5.
Yeah.
You have anything to talk about with that? I saw there was a bunch of videos about it, but...
Just that that's a really nice lens. I mean, I find when I was doing this little adventure with Joey Helms, Gadgen happened to be in Utah, and they came and shot with us, and he had it. Not the lens, sorry, just the Hasselblad X2D. My God, that's a beautiful camera. He did not have that lens at that time, but at least I don't think he did. Maybe he did. Freaking awesome system. I would love to get in a medium format at some point, and that camera was so much fun to use.
Yeah, I was going to ask you if you've used it before. Would you think you'd venture into the Hasselblad world or the Fuji world for medium format?
You know what?
You'd have to try them.
Yeah, I'd have to try the new. What is the new Fuji? The GFX 102.
It looks so cool.
That camera is so interesting because of the video specs. Like the photo hasn't really improved, but they did so much to the video that I'm like, oh man, that would be kind of fun to try. But the experience of using an X2D with its massive, bright, beautiful screen and just like the colors that come out of that camera, from a photography standpoint, I would definitely choose over the Fuji.
I've never used either of those things. I've never touched a medium format camera, but Canon, a couple things. There was a rumor about an RF 200 to 500 f4L, another funky, unique, expensive lens from Canon. So that was rumored to be coming out soon, but I think it's going to get pushed back to the second half of 2024. There's also rumors stirring again about cinema cameras. People are saying like a smaller version of the C70. This sounds like last spring, right before NAB, we were hearing the same rumor. So
like the C50 or whatever.
Yeah, or the C200 Mark II or whatever they were going to call it. I do think that they would be smart to put that sensor in a smaller camera, like a box camera or something. But we had the same conversation a year ago, man. Or
Yep.
There's more rumors about Sigma coming out with RF lenses. I will believe it when I see it. That's kind of my approach with this.
Exactly. Yeah, everything with Canon now is like, sure.
All right, well.
If it hits the market, then maybe I'll look into
the
it.
rumors, rumors are just rumors. So that's kind of it for news and rumors. It was kind of a light couple weeks, which makes sense just because, we pushed past Black Friday and getting to the holidays here. So let's get on to the main topic. I recently made a video about what Canon needs to do in 2024, and I think that was specific to Canon, obviously, but I think what happened was this sort of stirred up some thoughts for you too, and you kind of were like, Josh, we need to talk more about this, and like just generally about what cameras need to fix and improve on moving forward. So it's kind of what motivated this episode.
Yeah, these are absolutely things that need to happen. Like, they're no-brainer things. Why haven't they been done before?
Okay, so for me, I'm going to be mainly focusing on video stuff. Brandon, you'll probably chime in a little bit more about photography stuff as well.
A few things.
But this is mostly a video. Most of the stuff we're going to talk about is for video. And we're going to try to be as broad and as possible with brands and styles of cameras, because we can get into the nitty-gritty about each brand and all that kind of stuff. So some of this will be like hybrid cameras, some will be cinema cameras. I don't even know what the difference is anymore. I shouldn't even like categorize cameras. Like what's,
Yeah.
Okay.
Just cameras.
Just cameras.
It's just cameras.
All right, so let's get into it. We have 20 things we're going to talk about, and we were going to make a list of like each of us have some, and then we realized like most of our list overlapped, so we'll make one big list. All right, so Brandon.
And an honorable mention.
And an honorable mention, unless we come up with anything else while we're talking about this. So, first of all, we've talked about this before, Brandon, but battery grips.
Battery grips are the dumbest effing thing that I think I've ever seen on a camera. I think the only camera company that I've seen do it right, actually two camera companies, are Fuji and Blackmagic, because they don't force you to give up the battery that you already have in it to then put the battery grip on, which gives you two. So in Fuji and Blackmagic, you get 3 batteries, but everybody else is an idiot. And they're like, get rid of your battery and we'll give you one extra one and we'll charge you $400.
And you need to buy more batteries,
Yeah, like Leica's battery grip is $1,000. So dumb.
Of course it is. So I don't know the history of this, but it just seems like they were invented or they came about a while ago when the battery technology wasn't as advanced and like we don't have all these options for batteries. So it was kind of like, well, we have the camera batteries. Why don't we figure out a way to put 3 in there or 2 in there?
Yeah.
So what we've talked about, we've mentioned several times on this podcast, is why can't the battery grip just be a battery?
We've moved past needing these little guys. We can just make the whole thing a battery grip and give us actual phenomenal battery runtime.
Okay, so we're going to keep putting this out into the universe till someone starts making this, but just the battery grip just be the whole thing just be a battery, like a power bank, and then have a USB-C fast charge on the side.
Make this happen, somebody.
Somebody make this happen. Okay. The second one, Brandon, is something we've already mentioned earlier. Let's talk about the LCD screens because
here's what I don't understand. How can you sell TVs like plasma and OLED and bright, beautiful TVs and then just put shit into your camera for a screen?
You're talking about Sony.
Yes.
You're talking about Sony.
Like, just reach out to them and be like, hey, can you guys do that? But just tinier, just give us a sliver of that, and then we'll put it in our camera. Like, I just don't get it. I don't get how Sony has made such a bad screen.
Yeah, and all of them are bad. Like, even the newest ones coming out are not good. I don't get it. I don't know why they're so small. I don't know why they're not bright. The resolution, they've increased the resolution on some of their newer ones.
Like, how do they not have like full tap? Like everybody else is like, tap, I want to focus on that. I want to pull this up. I want to select that. Sony's like, nah, we'll give you a swipe. And then that's about it.
And these are on cameras that don't even have EVF. So we're talking FX3 and FX3.
Yeah.
There isn't even EVF. Is your only option to see the camera.
God.
All right, so I would like to see bigger screens as well, not just like higher resolution and brighter and more functionality.
Same.
But like larger. Why can't it be like just larger on the back of the camera? Why can't they just change the design of the camera? I don't know. Like I love the Blackmagic screens. Like they're huge. That's
the best screen there is, period.
But it doesn't flip forward.
Yeah, that's true. The next one down, and that's also like Blackmagic, come on. Like, figure out a hinge. There's a hinge solution out there. But
like why can't it just go up higher and just flip above, or something?
I would love that. Just keep doing what you're doing. Let's just go a little further. That X2D screen is amazing. It's like 3.5 inches. It's bright. It's incredibly responsive. And because of that, they didn't need like a joystick and all the buttons. So they made a bigger screen. You enjoyed it more. It still has an amazing EVF. Like, come on, let's go.
Although Sony did push forward with their bendy, flippy, tilty screen, which is cool that they implemented that.
Yes. Yep.
They worked on their hinges, just not the screens.
Oh.
I know. I don't get it. I don't get why they're so small. I don't get why they're so unusable. But like, let's up that a little bit. Charge me an extra $50 for the camera. Like, I don't like. How much does a little LCD screen cost? It can't cost that much money. You know what I mean?
I'll pay a premium. If they fix that one issue, I'm in it. I'm in Sony. Canon, I'm telling you right now, you're one screen away from not having a customer. I know you don't care, but I'm just saying it.
Yeah, the Canon screens are definitely more enjoyable to use.
They're so good.
Yeah, and better than probably Fuji and Lumix.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Fuji screens are like a mild step above
Sony. Okay.
Mild.
Okay. All right, Brandon, this is an idea that we talked about a long time ago. On to number 3 here. Anti-theft system. Like, why do we not have like a PIN or a Touch ID or something like that to protect our cameras? Like, our phones are cheaper than our cameras and they have that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, my only guess is that we talk about getting the shot and needing the speed so much that it's like, okay, well then we won't put that in there. But I would love like a 2-factor authentication or a pin on the back of the screen, and then I can go into the menu and turn that off if I want for the day or something. But it's like, can somebody just make an effort, like try, and if it doesn't work, cool. Then we go, hey, you tried. We can grow. We can learn from that. But the fact that nobody's even trying is like really disheartening.
There's really not much talk about privacy and security and stuff with cameras. Maybe that's just because there's not as much information that there is on our phones and tablets and laptops and computers and stuff. Or are you worried about someone like stealing it and then using it?
Yeah, but they still cost a grip.
I know, but maybe that's it. Maybe it's just about privacy and protection.
That's stupid.
But I could see like a Touch ID like on the grip or something. When you grab it, it turns on and unlocks or something like that.
That'd be great. I would take like a little 4-pin thingy on my camera.
That's easy. Yep. Okay. All right. So let's get on to number 4 is internal media storage.
This is another one that's like, how's this not just like, it's just built in? I'm not saying I want it to be the only media, because there could totally be things, that go wrong with that. If you were to break it and you're like, oh crap, now I got to send my whole camera in. I'm just saying like cameras should come with like 256 gigs. Like just, that's already in there. And then if you want to throw an SD or a CF Express Type B, but internal media, that should be a no-brainer.
I agree. It's also going to help with high burst rate photography because it'll be faster, because it'll be like, hardware basically. Also, like drones have them. Like they have a built-in 8 gigs or 16 gigs or whatever. It's just so nice because sometimes you forget your card or you just need a little bit more space, or why not? I mean, it doesn't make any sense. Again, charge me an extra $20 for that chip or whatever.
Like right? I'm willing to pay that premium if you're willing to go, let's make this such an enriching experience when you use this camera. Because if there was a camera company that dropped all of these little things that we were asking about, oh my God.
Are there any cameras that have built-in storage? Is there a Leica?
The Leica M11s, the M11
Okay.
had 64 gigs, and then when they came out with the monochrome and the P, those had 256, and the Hasselblad has a terabyte.
Okay, that's awesome. So
Freaking rad.
that's awesome. Okay, the next one is more about media. I would like to stop using SD cards. Like, I would really like to push towards CF Express Type B at this point. Do you agree?
Yeah, I agree.
Or you like SSDs of some sort or something?
No, I think CF Express Type B is. I mean, it's faster. It feels more robust. I've had less issues with CF Express Type Bs than I've had with SD cards. Those are plastic things. They break, you know?
I know. And like the little guide on the back that like I've had those break off before. I have a bunch of SD cards and a couple started acting up. I had to pull them out of the rotation. And nowadays, to get an SD card that's fast enough to do the things that we need to do, they're very expensive.
They're really expensive.
And the CF Express B cards are now cheaper than the SD cards for more memory. They're more robust. They're faster on load. They just feel more quality, and I trust them more. So I know they're physically larger, but
I'll take it.
okay. I'm happy to see more. It was interesting, who just came, like the Komodo X has one. Even the Burano, they put CF Express B in them, which I was surprised that they didn't stick to their CF Express A.
Let's make it happen.
Moving on to number 6. This is something we've definitely talked about before, is better control apps for phones. So, Brandon, everyone sort of has one, but like it's not great.
It's the redheaded stepchild of that company. 100%. They're like, hey, Jake, can you make an app? And Jake's like 14. And he's like, yeah, I think I can throw something together. And they've had it for the last 8 years. It's garbage. Everybody's app is pretty much garbage.
So it's interesting because Sony just came out with a new one. I did install it. I haven't played with it.
Okay.
I like turned it on, checked it out, and I was like, I love the red one. We've talked about this so many times. The red
It's the
control app is
best.
amazing. It's amazing because it literally works the entire camera. There's no like, it all works except for this, you know?
Yeah. I use a iPad Pro, and I can control everything from it. I got this huge monitor. You know, I can switch all of my frame rates. I can check false color. I can do anything I want from this iPad, wherever. It's absolutely amazing. I think the thing that aggravates me the most is that Canon made one, and then they left out the R5C.
I was just going to say,
Just conveniently. They had the big wheel of all the cameras. They're like, which one should we omit? But all the slots say R5C, and they spun it. Oh, it's the R5C. It loses.
yeah,
Doesn't make any sense.
it's really interesting because I just feel like that's Canon just being like, well, if you want that, then you have to go up to this level kind of move. That's kind of...
Okay, so we know that the R5, not to get off topic, but we know that the R5C's like Bluetooth doesn't work in video. Do you think that's why
Did you actually...
it's not working with the app?
I just went and looked. I watched a video about it that Canon put out. You actually have to buy like an accessory that sticks on the side of the camera for the C300 and C500.
To get it to work
Like-
with the phone app? Wait, what? You have to buy an accessory that's like a Wi-Fi extender or something?
Before we begin, remember that the C300 Mark III and the C500 Mark II require the use of the Canon WFT-E9 adapter for wireless network access. On the C70, a Canon-approved USB-C Wi-Fi adapter must be used.
Yeah, and then the C70, I guess you have to get like a Bluetooth USB thing on for the side. So it's not even built into the camera.
Okay, so the camera that actually has Bluetooth built into it, you can't use, and all the other cameras
Yep.
don't have it, but you can buy an extender and use the app.
I'm pretty sure I
Wow.
saw a Canon video about that. If I find that again, I'll put it in the description down so you guys can see that.
The collective Canon face needs to be slapped.
And it's really interesting because I know that, you know, for photo, a lot of people, like with Canon, they'll tether their cameras, and I've never tried that, but people use that professionally.
I use it
But
all the
then when
time.
there you go. But then with the video, it doesn't work. And then with the R5C, it was like, you need to buy that $1,000 battery grip that has the built-in Wi-Fi, and it like doesn't work very well. It's like crazy. Okay. I just want to see more. And like, even for Blackmagic, for example, which, you know, like I use in my studio all the time, the Blackmagic app works, but there's like 4 options in it. There's not much going on. I actually use a third-party app that works better. So,
Okay.
but full menu control. We want to have live preview, touch tracking, autofocus, like you should be able to fully work the camera from your phone.
I want a former engineer, not a current one, because they're all yuppies. I want a former engineer to reach out and be like, this is why they can't do it, and then give me a great explanation. And if not, God damn it, make it.
Yeah, I think there needs to be a push towards modernizing a lot of these cameras in a lot of ways. And all of our lights and sliders and gimbals, they all work with phone apps. And as much as I hate phone apps, I would like one for the camera. That would be really helpful. Because there's a lot of times, especially when I'm filming myself or you have multiple cameras set up, I don't want to have to bring a monitor with me and, I could just look down and make sure I can't see the screen, obviously. It's not going to give us a bigger screen. So having your phone would be really helpful. You can start and stop recording, all that kind of stuff.
So helpful.
So helpful. All right, I think everyone gets it. All right, so the next couple have to do with audio. This was an idea that you came up with, which I think was clever, was 32-bit float in the camera. Why can't we have that?
Right up in there. We're willing to pay a little...
I'm sorry, I know you don't know the answer.
I don't know the answer. And to me, it just seems like a simple fix. I get that you might have to make the camera a little bit bigger. And for some cameras, like a camera line of some sort, maybe that's not possible. But I'm pretty sure we can do it at this point.
They have them in those tiniest, they have them inside the wireless lav transmitters also has 32-bit recording inside the little thing. I can't imagine it's a size thing.
Yeah, I don't know the exact reasons why we can't, but something tells me we can, and they're just not doing it.
Yeah, it just seems like a lot of the times with these cameras, the audio is it has a 3.5 on it. You can throw some audio in there if you want, but why can't we have better audio? You know what I mean?
Do you know why I want that, Josh? See this? This used to be my Sennheiser MKE 400.
It broke again?
But the other day, it fell on my camera and smushed the whole thing. If it was just internal, I'd probably be fine, and I wouldn't be without. Now I got to spend another $300 to get another mic.
All right, so with that, let's go on to the next one is low profile microphones, because Sony makes some great microphones that slide on top of their cameras that go right into the hot shoe. Canon makes one too, which I've never heard anyone talk about, but we should be able to get more sort of easy to use microphones. And why do they I know you complain about this all the time. Why do they have to be so tall?
Why are they this big? What are they trying to catch with that thing? It doesn't make any sense.
I know both of us love the MKE 400 because it's one of the most low profile microphones that you can buy. Well, yours is even more low profile.
Yeah,
now.
I've really flattened it out, its profile. But look at that. That's pretty funny. It's not
a bad joke. Okay. Yeah.
But
okay.
yeah, I just don't understand, why do they need to keep being taller? Why don't we keep them smaller and maybe extend whatever battery pack or something like this bit? Why can't that bit just be longer? Just makes sense. Let's pull that down. There are people with camera backpacks that are now I got to take off my mic and then put my camera in there. I would love to just keep everything assembled.
Yeah, I think about a lot of the Sony microphones, and you have these low profile cameras like the FX3 or the ZVE1, and then you have this huge microphone that's sticking up. It just looks ridiculous. I don't know. Yeah, why can't we get them flatter?
It does. It looks so stupid.
Okay, and moving on to the next one, number 9. I would love to see built-in wireless mic receivers in the camera, and I didn't really think about this until the Pocket 3 just came out. And if anyone watching this doesn't know, the Pocket 3 has DJI's wireless receiver in it. So you just bring a transmitter, you clip on your shirt or whatever. You don't need the receiver to plug into your camera. It's already built into the camera.
I want that so bad.
So bad. Why is that not in every camera? Okay.
I got it. At some point you go, okay, is this just about money? Is this just so they can...
But they could sell more microphones. Sony already makes wireless mics.
Exactly. I get it. I'm yes. And that would keep you in the ecosystem longer. All of these things would make you even more loyal to that company. So I don't understand it. Maybe we'll see it. I feel like Sony's going to be the first one to do all of these things that we're asking for.
Probably. Except for the LCD screens. Okay.
Dead last.
But I think that was a feature that when I saw the Pocket 3, even though I didn't really want to buy a Pocket 3, I was like, that is so cool. Like, if you don't have to think about that and it just connects right to your camera, that would be awesome. It also just opens up so many more possibilities for audio too, with podcasting and interviews and stuff like that, where you just go, here you go, take this, and then that's it. You're good to, like, it's so fast. It's not just for vlogging and stuff like that. I can see so many different applications. Okay, number 10 is for photography. Brandon, I know this is something that you talked about, was the shutter speeds.
Okay, so just to clarify, I ran into this once, but it was one time too many. On the R5, your fastest shutter speed was 1/8,000. But if you used their flagship 51.2 in a remotely bright day, wide open, it was blown out because it just wasn't fast enough to get you a properly exposed image wide open at the maximum shutter speed. So it's just like, can we have some foresight and eliminate that before the need ever arises? I don't know if other cameras have that issue, but I gotta think some do.
So I'm out of my comfort zone here talking about photography, but the new A9 Mark III has 1/80,000 shutter, right?
That should cover it.
Okay. So I guess the result would be we'll just use an ND filter, right? But you shouldn't have to. I don't know why you can't go faster with the shutter.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't get
Maybe
it.
there's technology limit to that for some reason that needs to be fixed. I don't know.
It should. I'm stating this because it should never happen again.
Yeah. Okay. Not to freeze action, but literally to shoot wide open when it's sunny outside.
Yeah, that's it. Like the first time I got it, I had I think it was a 1.4, like a third. Yeah, it was my Samyang 85 1.4. I got it right before the Manhattan Beach 6-man tournament. I was going to shoot it, and I couldn't shoot wide open with it. I was like, God, what the hell? And this wasn't even the 1.2. So, is it a necessity that I shoot wide open? No, but if I'm buying a camera and a lens that can do it, or if I'm buying a lens that can do it, I want to take advantage of it at some point.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right, the next one is near and dear to my heart, is talking about overheating and fans. Every camera should have a fan in it at this point, that if it has decent video specs, because I'm so sick of cameras overheating. I'm sick of people buying cameras and then realizing that they can't run them for more than 10 minutes.
And then they get mad at
angry.
you.
Even though every time I get a new camera that I know is going to overheat, I make a video about it. It's like the first video I make. It's like, does this camera overheat? How fast? Because
Will
I want to
it
get the
blend?
information out there.
It's that.
We should, yes, pretty much. And every time it does blend, and every time I test these cameras, they overheat. Like, it's like an inevitable thing. I've seen some clever stuff. Like Lumix put the little fan thing like right above the lens mount, which was cool. You could barely even see it. Can
I play devil's advocate and ask you a question? Is there a runtime that you would accept if it didn't have a fan?
Well, it really is situational, because like I'm in North Carolina. If I'm outside anytime, most of the year,
yeah,
it all these cameras overheat. Like there's no way around it. Like you're in the sun, the humidity. For someone that's doing video who's had cameras that overheat, once your camera overheats, you're constantly distracted. Is this camera going to overheat? If you're filming someone else, you're filming yourself, you're like looking over at the screen, which you can't see on the cameras anyways, and you're like freaking out that it's overheating. Mm-hmm. So just put a fan in it, and then we don't have to worry about it.
Gotcha. I will agree.
Okay. The next one is very video focused again, OpenGate and anamorphic support.
Yeah. What do you think are the limitations that camera manufacturers have right now that are stopping them from just putting OpenGate into like every camera?
Yeah, so there's two parts about this. The first thing is OpenGate, and I get a lot of people saying, why don't you just turn on OpenGate? Well, the cameras, I think there's a physical limitation in the tech, because for it to read out the full sensor, the camera's only designed to read 16:9 or 17:9 in video mode. So to then tell the camera it has to read the whole sensor in video, it wasn't designed that way, because you're reading a lot more pixels per frame. You know what I mean? So in the design of the camera, there would be more rolling shutter. It may not have the buffer at certain frame rates and stuff to do that. The cameras kind of need to be designed from the start to be able to do it. I don't think it's hard to do. Maybe you could limit the frame rate, or like with the new Blackmagic full frame, like when you shoot in OpenGate, it has worse rolling shutter than it does when you're not. That's a trade-off that you have to do, but it was designed to do that from the start. So I think that's part of it.
It's definitely something we just want to see moving forward.
Absolutely. OpenGate is important for two reasons, or actually three reasons. First of all, it's really cool to shoot in that format. Sometimes it's just kind of a refreshing way to shoot in terms of different aspect ratio. Number two, it's great for reframing because you get a lot more height, so you can just shoot and just keep in mind if you're converting to vertical video. And the third thing, which I think a lot of people don't really understand so much, is anamorphic support. Because when you have OpenGate recording, you have more height. You can use higher squeeze factor lenses without making the image like just really tiny. Yeah. So that's really nice. So those, I'd like to see it more in cameras moving forwards. I don't know if Canon or Sony, just speaking of the two of them, I don't know if who's going to be the first one to put that in. I'm not really sure, but it seems like people are asking for it.
I would love to have it in all of my cameras, for sure.
Yeah, and then to piggyback that, the anamorphic support is also, why can't we have all the de-squeeze options in camera? Like, that's just not complicated, you know?
Yeah, I think wasn't Sony like, hey, you get anamorphic support, and you're like, you get like 2 styles of it.
Yeah, it's
wait,
like 1.3 and 2 times. I think Canon is limited too. You don't get all of them as well. So
yeah, I think it's 3 for Canon.
Oh, 3. Okay, it's not even baking it in. It's just literally to see it on the screen. So anamorphic support, I think, is a combination of being able to de-squeeze it in camera, but also having the OpenGate recording helps out with anamorphic support as well. So I'd like to see that.
Good call.
Number 13, something that we've talked about plenty of times, is kind of the ergos, the physical appearance and design of cameras. Brandon, what are some things that you'd like to see change in terms of camera design and stuff like that?
Oh man, you know what? This one's actually kind of tough. I love the Komodo's boxiness so much. So when I'm talking specifically, I'm buying a camera strictly for video. The box modularity is something I really, really like. The other side of that is size. Like, I'm all for making a camera tinier. That was such a big draw to the FX3 and the FX30, was just, they're very comfortable. They have kind of a boxy design. I love that the threads are built into it, but they're so small. So right now, those are kind of the two things that are percolating in my tiny brain as to what I want when it comes to ergos. What about you?
Yeah, I would like to see more box cameras for the video-focused cameras. I know we went off on this with the Blackmagic discussion that we had about the new 6K full frame. Yeah. But also, it just seems like for the hybrid or video-focused hybrid, the small mirrorless cameras that a lot of us are using for all sorts of stuff, is that they're photo cameras that have video specs, so they still act like photo cameras in terms of the ergonomics, the design, all that kind of stuff. I'd like to see just more video focused stuff. And like, I think the FX3 is closer because the buttons and dials, like, they're all labeled for the video things that you need. So more stuff like that. And there's things in each camera company that are cool. Like, I really like how Lumix has that autofocus, manual focus dial, like right on the back there. I think that's really clever. There's like a lot of things that I think would help out for video stuff. But yeah, smaller cameras and definitely more box cameras I think would be really cool. And more of a focus on ergonomics in general and the way cameras look. Because I know, Brandon, that's a big part for you. So I think there's a lot of utilitarian styles out there, which I think to sell cameras, I think they should look and feel good in the hand.
Absolutely. 100%. I think when you pick up a camera, this isn't for everybody, but I can't tell you how many times, grabbing a camera, I just kind of zone out, not even look at it, and just move my hands around, and I'm like, oh, this is a good camera. Like, it's dense, it's got some weight to it, everything snaps the way it should, like buttons react the way they should, they're not mushy, they're punchy. You know, stuff like that. The grip, the materials that you make, that stuff matters to some people. Not everybody, but to some people it matters a lot.
I agree, and I think there's always the thing that where you can't put your finger on, you're like, why do I want to pick up that camera? Like, when you sit on the table, you walk by it, you're like, I want to pick up that camera, I want to go out and shoot with it. Yeah. That stuff matters. Especially
it really does.
When you're for creative work, you know?
Yeah, I don't know. You pick up, the FX3, I love the way it feels. Like, you were asking me, how does this feel? I'm like, dude, the buttons actually feel really good. This button's super responsive. The dials feel nice and clicky. But like on the R5C and some of the other Sonys that I've tried, it's mushy, and it just feels like the body and the hardware were kind of like an afterthought. Like everything's happening inside the camera software wise, but it's like, this is not a pleasurable experience to use. Maybe it's so utilitarian that it doesn't care, but I don't agree. Like, I think you can have both.
I agree. Okay, and to go on to the next one, which piggybacks on this, is customization of buttons.
Oh man, that's I don't know why. Just a sec. So this camera right here is awesome. There are very few buttons on it, but any button, you literally hold it down, it pops up like, what do you want to customize it to? And then anything you can, you just select it. Like, why do we have to have certain buttons for certain things? Like, why is on the R5C like one of those control dials, I can't remember, it can't be used. Like, you can't program it to anything. That makes no freaking sense. Like, I should just be able to hold it down, something pops up, I want to switch it to this, boom, done. This camera's amazing for that reason. All cameras should do that.
I agree. Sony's pretty good about letting you customize almost everything in the camera.
Yeah.
Canon is a lot more restrictive. The Canon hybrid cameras are even worse. When you go to like customize a button, there's like less options. Like you can't even find most of the stuff you want to customize it to. And some of their cheaper cameras, they have even less options that you can custom. I'm like, why? Like, why can't I customize this to anything I want? So that would be nice to have. Okay, full-size HDMI ports. This is mainly aimed at Canon, but
yeah. Fuji too, though. I mean, like most of Fuji's cameras didn't have full-size HDMI. I think the XH2S is the only one that does. I mean, I could be wrong. Maybe the XT5 does now, but for the longest time, all their cameras were micro HDMI. But the fact that Canon's still doing it is like just a gut punch.
Yeah, and it's funny because a lot of people who comment when I complain about this is like, why do you need full-size HDMI? I'm like, have you ever used a micro HDMI? Like,
yeah,
they break, they're unreliable, you have to stress and worry about them, you have to put a cage and a clamp on them, and
yeah,
and it's different cables, it's not good. So yeah, let's just
and then you're out.
HDMI.
Like if that breaks and you're somebody that has to use a monitor, then you got to send it in. You're out of a camera for 2 weeks. Like, just make it more robust.
Agreed. The next one is about custom profiles, and this one I know is a huge. You're upset about this, especially with the R5C.
The R5C is such a great camera, but as you alluded to at the start of this episode, the more you dive into it, like the bigger it gets. Like this camera's like so robust, and because it's so robust, things can take time. It's really easy to kind of get lost in everything, and the fact that you can't have a custom profile, like I love the fact on the FX30, I made a profile for live streaming. Put all of the options that I wanted. That was the live streaming one. Then I put one in for like a high frame rate. Why can't I do this in a camera like an R5C? The R5 gives you 3 video custom profiles and 3 photo. This just seems like a no-brainer. It's in the software. Just let me add things, and then when I select on it, it brings all of those things up. Some basic rudimentary memory.
And there's issues in like Sony too, where if you're in a custom profile, you can't use a custom white balance feature. Like there's like weird stuff. There's weird stuff like that in every system, you know. And to say this also about Canon is that like you can do this in their hybrid cameras in photo and video, and you can do it in the R5C in photo mode because it's the hybrid system. You just can't do it in their cinema operating system. So
just give me the freaking firmware update already.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. As we said before, the cinema people don't talk to the photo people. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's
for whatever reason
ridiculous.
Okay. The next one is shutter angle. Why is this not an option in like every camera to just switch it to shutter angle?
Is there? So we all know that Sony, for some reason, has put their foot down and they're like, no shutter angles. But is there any other camera company that's also got the same stance, the same stupid stance?
Well, it seems like, the Canon hybrid cameras, when you flip them over to photo or flip over to video, it's still shutter speed.
They're shutter speed. They don't have it.
But they're not labeling those as cinema cameras.
Yeah, I understand.
So Sony is more of the issue, I feel like.
Why does it need to be a cinema camera thing? Like shutter
doesn't.
angle just makes more sense.
I don't know why you can't change it from speed to angle in the menu
Yeah.
in any situation. I don't understand.
It should
That's
just
an
flip
easy thing.
automatically. This is super
or
basic
you have
math.
an option. Or
Yeah.
you have an option. You know what I mean? Like, why can't there be an option in the menu somewhere? Okay, the next thing is exposure assist tools. And this is crazy that cameras, I'm going to specifically pick on Sony here.
As they deserve.
The FX3 and FX30 have a histogram. Like,
It's a shitty histogram too.
but the histogram is like more of a photography tool, and now that's the only thing we have. I'm sorry, the exposure meter, or the EV at the bottom, like you can't trust that. Like we need proper exposure tools.
I was blown away how different the histogram and the metering would be sometimes. I'm just like, this is reading flashing 2 over on the metering, and the histogram isn't. You were telling me it was like it gets buried 3/4 of the way. It doesn't even go all the way to the right, and it wasn't. It still had space to go. I'm like, what do I trust here? Like, I wish I had false color right now.
This is a problem because it's really tricky to expose those cameras for a lot of people, and there's a lot of misconception out there. And there was, for whatever reason, people got on their heads that you should expose Sony cameras at plus 1.7. Like this was a thing that everyone got drilled in their heads, and everyone just went for it. And sometimes 1.7 is right, but sometimes 0 is right. Sometimes flashing plus 2 is right. And so
Yeah,
it's
true.
The problem is it is hard to expose those cameras, and you have to practice a lot. But I don't understand why we can't get things like waveform and false color. I just don't understand. These are software things.
Yeah.
Like somebody just has to write some code and put it in there. Canon started putting false color in their mirrorless cameras, with like the R6 II has it.
Yeah.
Like that's cool. Like we should have that. But Sony still doesn't have false color in their cameras, any of their cameras. I don't even think their cinema cameras have it.
The FX6 doesn't.
No.
So weird.
I don't understand why we can't get that.
Yeah, maybe they'll. Was it Canon or Sony that just charged for grid lines? Like
Sony. Oh, that's a. I would pay $100
maybe
to
just
get waveform and
maybe
false color.
just charge for waveforms and false color. Like you owe it to your community to put it in there. But I think at this point, if you charge like $100 for like exposure tools, people would gladly pay it.
Maybe the sidebar here. Maybe this is really what was going on. They're gonna say, "Oh, $150 for grid lines," and they're gonna be like, "Oh, you want shutter angle for your FX3?"
$350.
No, they're gonna be like, "It's gonna be an easy sell for $20 when they go shutter angle $20." You're like, "Oh yeah, definitely shutter angle $20."
Oh man, if they were smart, they'll do that.
Yeah, we'll see.
Bastards.
So I'd love to see that stuff. Okay, so one big thing which is not possible in every camera,
Yeah.
but let's start seeing more internal ND filters like in smaller cameras. We know there's for so long it's been the argument where you can't put internal NDs with IBIS, and so now Sony's done it with the Brano. I know it's a huge camera, but come on, we could start doing this.
I think with the Brano and then those rumored, Canon internal ND filters, hopefully we're going to start seeing this trickle out. But I get it. I mean, it's just so nice. Like, screw-on filters are so freaking stupid. It would just be so nice to just have that in a camera. I'm sure
It's so
there's a
funny
way to
'cause-
do it electronically now and save space, but
Yeah, like the Sony ND system in the FX6 and FX9 is straight up magic. Like it is so cool that there's a little dial on the side, and you don't have to, like with the other ones, it's like hard stops 2, 4, 6, and you can't do it while you're rolling because you can obviously see what's going on.
yeah.
So yeah, I don't know why we can't get a little electronic ND in there. Come on, it can't be that hard, right?
The other thought I was having the other day, and maybe this is a stupid thought, but I'm like, why isn't it available in these manufacturers' lenses? Like maybe there's something in the camera that talks to the ND system that's built into the lens. That would be cool. Like if I can't get it
that
in
would
the
be
camera, but if like I put on one of these lenses and it has it in it, then I could control it from the camera. That way you're not losing out on the space. But maybe that makes the lenses so big. But
again, I think
cool.
a lot of it with the mirrorless cameras have to do with the flange distance and getting all that stuff in that space between the lens and the.
So
there's
put
got to
it
be some tech
in the lens.
Okay. Well, and anyway, like we got to figure this out because it should be happening by now.
Yeah.
Okay, the last one on the list is kind of vague, but better menu systems. And I just want to say that, like, as more people are using their hybrid cameras for shooting video, I'm getting really tired of using adapted stills menus for shooting video. And I think one of the biggest things about the Canon R5C in particular was the fact that it actually switched from a photography camera to a video camera.
Yeah.
I would like to see more of this kind of stuff in other cameras.
I would love to see it, and I would love to see an even more elegant solution akin to what Hasselblad or Blackmagic does. Because that is an elegant solution.
Agreed. I think the Blackmagic menus, if you've never used them before, is just the easiest camera to set up and get rolling with and see what's going on. I do have to say, though, I want to give Sony some credit here because they've been known to have the worst menus ever. In their last couple iterations with that 2-page main menu screen that you have in their new cameras, I think it's awesome. I think it's so easy. Once you get the camera set up and there's a couple little things like, you know, I was talking to you about like being able to use the shutter button for recording video and the auto temp setting and a couple other little things. Pretty much everything else is in that main menu screen. In fact, I customize a button on my FX3 to open up the main menu.
Yeah.
Because I go in it so often. I don't even use the function menu anymore on the Sony cameras.
Yep.
So,
I will say, if you have great button layout and customization to the buttons, you never have to go into the menu, which is dope.
Yeah. But in general, just getting through the menu, knowing where everything is, I think that all needs to be kind of reworked and sort of just like, instead of reiterating on old stuff, someone needs to like just make a new design for a lot of these companies that are geared towards video.
I'm definitely thinking Fuji. Fuji is due for a revamp because their menus are now, in my opinion, the worst menus.
And Lumix is rather confusing too. There's a lot of options in those cameras and a lot of screens.
Yeah.
And like you go into, for example, shooting like different shooting modes, and you're like, there's 50.
Just pages and
pages. Yeah. So just sort of simplify it. Like as I said before, I like Blackmagic. It's like you want this, you want this, you want this. You just press
click, done.
Yeah. But just more video-focused menu systems because I think that's missing in a lot of these cameras.
Yeah.
All right, that's our list, Brandon.
That was a great list.
We forgot some stuff, or there's probably people of other things, but honorable mention, Brandon.
Yeah, put them down in the comments. If we did miss something, definitely let us know in the comments. But what do we got for the honorable mention, Josh?
This is what you've been talking about forever, is names.
The camera companies are like the most unoriginal, most boring and confusing products ever if you're shopping purely by name. Everybody's like, it's the Sony, it's the Canon, it's the Fuji, insert a letter, insert a number, done. So freaking stupid and so confusing.
Yeah, and especially in some, it's like, is the R7 better than the R8? Or is the R5 better than the R7?
Did you see the, I posted a skit, like this guy did a skit of Canon versus Sony camera names.
Like, can you list your cameras for me? My cameras. Oh, I'm glad you asked. We have a wide range. You know, we've been out for at least 1930. So we have R5, R6, R7, right, R8, R10. Okay, wait, hold on, right there. What's that? What the hell? What R9 at? What is that? So what? Oh, the R9? We thought 10 was a better number. You know, uno, dos, ocho, nueve. You ever had a 9mm? 9 derives from 3, and 3 times 3. No, hell no, that right there really don't make sense. Who wants to be 9 when you can always have 10? You said no what? Let me continue. We have R50 and then R100. Oh, okay, that makes sense. So 100, that's like the best, right? No, it's actually not the best. It's actually the worst. What?
It's so funny.
All right, so cooler names, like I know that we talk about Red all the time about like having cameras that have cool names you can remember what they are and get excited about. So
yeah, easy.
All right, we'll like to see that. All right. Well, that kind of wraps up this discussion. Hopefully we see some of this next year in 2024 and moving forwards. I just want to wish everybody happy holidays, happy new year, and we'll see you guys real soon. And, you know, thanks for following along with us.
Yeah. We'll see you later. Peace.